Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Updates, your trusted source for in-depth analysis, economic insight, and the latest developments surrounding the Iraqi dinar. Here, we go beyond the headlines to bring you clarity on what's really happening inside Iraq's financial transformation. If you want facts, context, and a grounded perspective on global currency shifts, so this is where it starts. Subscribe and stay informed. Your financial awareness begins here. There's something I've been trying to get people to understand for a long time now: the value is already in the Iraqi dinar. It's not about waiting for it to suddenly become valuable, it already is. The potential, the backing, the resources, and the macroeconomic movement are all there. What's been missing isn't intrinsic value via its recognition, coordination, and timing on a global scale. When you look back at history, say around 1990, the Iraqi dinar was valued at over $3 to the dollar. That wasn't a fluke. It wasn't some speculative number, it was based on Iraq's real economic strength at the time. This was a country with massive oil reserves, a central location in the Middle East, strong agricultural output, and a functioning financial infrastructure. The country had wealth, and the dinar reflected that wealth. But of course, we all know what happened after that. War, sanctions, internal instability of these things shattered not just Iraq's economy, but also the confidence of international institutions and investors in its financial system. So yes, today is not 1990. And yes, the standards by which we evaluate currency value have changed dramatically. But I want to stress this: those changes do not negate Iraq's potential, they redefine how that potential is unlocked and reflected in currency values. Let me explain what I mean by that. The global financial system has gone through several rounds of regulatory evolution: Basel I, Basel II, Basel III, and most recently, Basel IV. These frameworks were put in place to make banking systems more resilient, more transparent, and more grounded in real, tangible assets. In short, they demand that banks set and by extension, nations back their currency values with actual, provable strength, reserves, liquidity, economic output, and financial integrity. This changes the game entirely. It's not just about printing money and setting an exchange rate that looks good on paper. It's about having the reserves, the stability, and the systems in place to justify that rate. And here's where Iraq becomes really interesting. Over the last decade or so, Iraq has been quietly rebuilding. Its banking sector is becoming more aligned with international standards. New laws have been passed to modernize their financial institutions. There's been a push toward digital banking. More oil is being exported. Agreements have been signed with major trading partners. These are not the moves of a stagnant or broken economy. These are the deliberate, strategic moves of a nation preparing to reintroduce itself on the global financial stage. Now, let's talk about liquidity. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but let's ground it in what it actually means in this context. Cash in the banks both inside Iraq and held by Iraq and foreign reserves is essential. It's the fuel for economic growth. When banks have liquidity, they can lend. Businesses can expand. Infrastructure can be built. Jobs are created. Trade increases. And all of this generates demand for the local currency. The Iraqi central bank, along with its government, knows this. That's why we're seeing cash reserves and gold holdings increasing. That's why international partnerships are being forged. This liquidity isn't just sitting there, it's there to help finance a growth cycle that will, eventually, justify a much higher exchange rate for the dinar. And that's the key word here: justify. It's not about speculation or artificial spikes. It's about building the real economic foundation that allows the currency to naturally rise in value until it reflects what's actually going on in the country. But here's where things get even more significant. Iraq's story is not happening in isolation. In fact, many believe that Iraq is going to serve as a kind of hinge pin, a pivot point, in a much larger financial recalibration of what some have called a global currency reset. Now, I know that term currency reset triggers a lot of debate. But strip away the drama, and what you're really talking about is this: a movement toward rebalancing global exchange rates in a way that better reflects economic realities in the 21st century. Think about it. For decades, the US dollar has served as the de facto reserve currency of the world. And while the dollar is strong and stable, its dominance has led to serious imbalances. Many countries have pegged their currencies to it, sometimes artificially, and that's led to distortions in trade, debt, and investment. The global financial system has evolved, but the structure of currency valuations hasn't kept up. That's where these new baskets of currencies come in. Under a new model, currencies will be grouped either by region, by trade partnership, by economic similarity, and each basket will provide mutual support. Instead of a single country carrying the weight, these baskets will distribute strength. This is not speculation, this is a natural evolution of how international finance is adapting to a multipolar world. So when we talk about Iraq being a key player in this, we're talking about its strategic location, its vast natural resources, its economic rebuilding, and its potential to anchor a basket of regional currencies. Iraq is in a prime position to become a financial bridge between East and West. It can align with countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and even parts of Asia to form a strong regional economic bloc. These are the groupings of currencies you're going to start hearing more about. And what's more, these groupings aren't just about economics, they're about stability. They create a kind of mutual accountability. Each country in a basket supports the others. If one has a surplus, it can help buffer a deficit elsewhere. If one faces inflation, others can help absorb the shock. This shared resilience creates the kind of stability that the IMF and global regulators like to see, and it lays the groundwork for those countries to unpeg from the dollar and establish fair, organic exchange rates. But let's come back to the dinar. People ask, why isn't it at $3 already, especially with all the oil Iraq has? The answer lies in everything I have just laid out. The value is $3. It's just not yet been fully acknowledged by the institutions that control global exchange rate mechanisms. It's not just about what Iraq costs, it's about how Iraq fits into this new financial architecture that is emerging. It's about demonstrating compliance with international banking standards, showing political and financial stability, proving the ability to maintain a consistent monetary policy, and aligning with global partners in a responsible way. And let me be clear, Iraq is moving in that direction. We're not talking about some distant, decades-away possibility. We're talking about ongoing progress that is being tracked and acknowledged by key players in the international financial community. Iraq is taking steps quietly, steadily that point toward a future where its currency is no longer undervalued. This isn't just a local matter. It's not just about Iraq getting its act together. It's about a new global standard. It's about shifting away from old, outdated systems of valuation and toward a new era where currencies are backed by real assets, real production, and real trade relationships. And as that happens, the dinar's role will become clearer. It won't be seen as a speculative long shot up, it will be seen as a stable, resource-backed, strategically important currency. The world is moving toward a level playing field. Not necessarily a single global currency, but the system where exchange rates are fair, balanced, and reflective of each country's real economic position. That's the future we're heading into. And Iraq's reemergence is going to be a major part of that transformation. So when people ask why the dinar isn't worth more right now, I tell them, the value is $3. It's just waiting to be recognized. And once the pieces are in place, that recognition is going to come not as a surprise, but as the natural result of a deliberate, strategic shift in global finance. Thanks for tuning into Iraqi Dinar Updates. If today's insights gave you a clearer picture, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments so we read them all. Until next time, stay informed, stay patient, and stay ahead.